greatness never happens by accident. It's shaped, tested, and refined often by the voices we choose to listen to. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was more than a scorer. He was a thinker, a student of the game, and at times, a man searching for someone who could still teach him something new. Long before the bright lights of Los Angeles, there was a young Lewis Sindor in a quiet UCLA gym, studying under John Wooden, the coach who taught him that winning starts in the mind. Years later came others, teachers who demanded, challenged, and sometimes clashed with him. Each one left a mark, a new layer to a legend who seemed untouchable. But there was one who went further. One who didn't care about reputation, who pushed the aging star to his breaking point, and forced him to rediscover what greatness truly meant. Time has passed, records have fallen, and Kareem is 78 now. Yet when he looks back, it's not the points he remembers, it's the lessons. This is the story of Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and the 5 coaches who taught him how to play the game, especially the fourth one, the man who changed. Before the fame, before the records, there was simply Coach Wooden, the man who turned a quiet, introverted teenager into a disciplined competitor. When Kareem Abdul-Jabbar first walked into UCLA's gym in the mid-60s, he was still Lewis Sindor, tall, brilliant, and already overwhelmed by expectation. Wooden met him not with praise, but with patience. He didn't talk about points or titles. He talked about character, habits, and humility. Their first practices were less about basketball and more about life. Wooden made him tie his shoes properly, repeat footwork drills endlessly, and focus on the smallest details. Kareem once said it felt absurd until he realized that Wooden wasn't teaching him moves, he was teaching him discipline. The old coach's calm voice carried weight, failing to prepare is preparing to fail. Those words would echo through Kareem's entire career. Under Wooden's watch, UCLA became unstoppable. 3 national championships, countless records, but what mattered most was the foundation built in those silent mornings. Wooden never shouted, never celebrated too loud. He taught through stillness, through consistency, through example. Years later, when Kareem faced the chaos of the NBA, he often closed his eyes and heard that same calm instruction: slow down, breathe, think first. Wooden had given him more than a playbook. He had given him a way. When Kareem left UCLA for the Milwaukee Bucks in 1969, he entered a world that no longer felt like a classroom. The NBA was faster, harder, and far less forgiving. Waiting for him was Larry Costello, a former player turned coach, meticulous to the point of obsession. Costello wasn't a philosopher like Wooden. He was a perfectionist, a man who believed that every pass, every step, every second mattered. From day one, Costello treated Kareem not as a prodigy, but as a professional. He installed a motion offense built around precision and timing, forcing Kareem to master the rhythm of the team before claiming the spotlight. At first, it frustrated him. He wanted freedom, the ball, the flow he had known in college. But Costello was firm. "You don't lead by scoring," he once told him, "you lead by trust." Slowly, the system took shape, and so did Kareem. His skyhook became unstoppable, not just because of talent, but because every movement was rehearsed until it felt inevitable. Under Costello's command, Milwaukee transformed from an expansion team into a champion. In 1971, they captured their first NBA title, and Kareem, still only 24, understood what structure could achieve. Costello wasn't warm, and he wasn't easy. But he demanded accountability, and in doing so, gave Kareem his first taste of professional greatness. Years later, when asked about that season, Kareem simply said, "He made us believe that." By the late 70s, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar had already conquered nearly everything: titles, awards, respect. But beneath the calm surface, he was restless. The league was changing, faster and freer, and Kareem's old systems no longer fit. That's when Don Nelson entered the picture, not as his head coach, but as a thinker who challenged the very way the game was played. Nelson, the former Celtic with a tinkerer's mind, saw basketball as a laboratory. He believed in spacing, movement, and adaptability long before those ideas became common. To Kareem, Nelson was a spark: unpredictable, creative, and never afraid to test the limits of a legend. He encouraged Kareem to step out of the low post, to see the floor, to become a passer and a thinker again. At first, Kareem resisted. He had built his career on precision, not improvisation. But Nelson's approach reignited something Wooden had planted years earlier: curiosity. The veteran began to see the court as a chessboard, not a battlefield. Their partnership wasn't always smooth. Nelson's ideas sometimes clashed with Kareem's tradition-bound instincts. But through those disagreements came growth. Nelson reminded him that even legends must evolve, that brilliance fades when it stands still. Looking back, Kareem called Nelson a coach for the future who somehow existed in my present. The experiments they began together would later define the modern game: positionless, fluid, intelligent. For Kareem, it was the reminder that adaptation is the purest form of. By the time Pat Riley took command of the Los Angeles Lakers in the early 80s, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was already a champion, a superstar, and, in the eyes of many, a man past his prime. Riley didn't care. He saw not an aging center but the standard by which discipline would be measured. His message was clear from the first day of training camp: Showtime would only work if its foundation was forged in sweat. Riley pushed Kareem harder than anyone had dared. Conditioning drills that tested his lungs, late-night film sessions that dissected every movement, nothing escaped scrutiny. The younger Lakers watched as their 40-year-old captain led every sprint, every repetition. Riley called it leadership by endurance, and Kareem lived it. There were clashes, quiet ones behind closed doors, when pride met pressure. But Riley understood how to reach him, not with praise, but with precision. "You're not old," he once told Kareem, "you're timeless if you keep earning it." Under Riley, the Lakers transformed into a dynasty. Magic Johnson provided the energy, but Kareem remained the anchor: calm, centered, relentless. Together, they built not just a team but a culture of excellence that defined an era. Years later, Kareem would admit that Riley reignited something he thought he'd lost: the hunger to prove himself. The fourth coach didn't change his technique, he changed. When Del Harris arrived in Los Angeles near the twilight of Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's career, the aura around the captain had already shifted. The skyhook was still graceful, but the body that launched it had endured 2 decades of battles. Harris understood that. Unlike the hard-driving Riley, he approached Kareem with quiet respect, seeing not just a player but a living library of the game. Harris didn't try to reinvent him. Instead, he gave Kareem space, the rarest gift a legend can receive. During practices, he'd walk over, speak softly about positioning, about rhythm, about preserving energy. "You've earned the right to teach while you play," he once told him. That single line changed the tone of Kareem's final seasons. Under Harris, Kareem became more than a scorer. He became a mentor, guiding younger teammates through moments of chaos with a calm word or a single nod. In those final years, the cheers were softer, the minutes fewer, but the meaning deeper. Each appearance felt like a farewell letter to the game he had mastered. Harris gave him dignity in the descent, the ability to leave on his own terms. When Kareem finally retired in 1989, he didn't speak about numbers or records. He spoke about gratitude. "Every coach I had," he said quietly, "taught me something I didn't know about myself." Del Harris had been the last voice in that long conversation, the one who taught him how to let go without losing who. 5 coaches. 5 eras. 5 reflections of the same truth: greatness is never built alone. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's journey was more than a record of points or championships, it was a lifelong education in patience, discipline, and humility. From John Wooden's quiet lessons to Pat Riley's relentless drive, each mentor shaped a different part of him: the student, the leader, the survivor, the teacher. What remains after all the banners and applause is the echo of their voices. Wooden's calm wisdom. Costello's structure. Nelson's curiosity. Riley's fire. Harris's grace. Together they formed the invisible architecture of a man who outlasted eras and expectations. At 78, Kareem no longer measures success in numbers but in influence, and how those lessons still guide him, and how his own mentorship carries their legacy forward. The greatest players don't just play the game, they absorb it, question it, and pass it on. And for Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, every step, every word, every lesson from those 5 coaches remains proof that even legends need teachers.